Hello all, welcome back to Gal Pale Nails. Thanks for joining us again. I am going to zip through some of my dip powder. I'm not focusing on that today, so I'm going to get through that as quick as I can. If you guys want to see an in-depth dip powder application from start to finish, I will link that in the description below, but I've done it before and I didn't want this video to be too long because I'm focusing on filing today. So I'm doing a 3-color mani. I'm going to do some glitter, some chunky glitter. So I will quick dip in Merlot on 3 of my fingers, which is by Revel, and I will link all my colors below as well. I did a dip of Erica, dip a Bubbly on top of that, and then I use Sparkle & Co. Elwood's Glass Slippers, which is a beautiful glitter. I keep going back to it over and over. So I'm going to get through that real quick, and you guys can watch me here. Like I said, I didn't even, show the applying of the dip base. I'm really just showing the powder application. I did do 3 dips of each of the solid colors, and Bubbly I only did 1 dip, and I did 2 dips of Elwood's along with a clear. So I don't show it all, but just so you guys know how many layers I use. Stay tuned, and then I will come back in when I start my filing. Okay, so let's get into filing. This is definitely something that takes a lot of practice. It's not something that comes naturally on your first dip. I would say it's probably what I struggled with the most, and I'm sure, I'm in a couple of the Facebook groups, I'm sure what people comment about the most is how to get a good shape, how to use an e-file, how to do it well. So I have the Melody Susie Scarlet, which is a tabletop drill, and the RPMs that I'm using to get a smooth surface is probably right around 5,000 RPMs. I don't normally go much higher than that. It does cause a little bit of heat friction, and it can burn your fingers or anybody else's nails that you're doing. And I am using a fine sanding band here. So the very first step is to make, well, for me, of course, you can do whatever steps you feel is appropriate for you. Some people do hand filing first or only hand filing, but I do my e-file first. So I'm going to smooth the surface, and then after I do that, right in that little crevice and crease, I'm going to show you guys how I get in that area. And what you'll do is you will use the very, very edge of your sanding band. So you're going to kind of angle it so it's not completely flush. The whole band isn't flush with your nail. You're more angling the tip of it to fit right in that little nook and smooth that area out to where you have dip. The way I do it to have it be as thin as possible there, usually I will do the 3/4 method, the 1/2 method, where you don't start all of your layers of dip right at the cuticle because it gets too thick. So my dip tends to not be very thick there in the first place. But if you do have some filing to do in that area, I would suggest using a sanding band like this. They also make the silver diamond bits. Some people prefer that, like the barrel shaped ones. They do have some pointy ones, but I feel they don't take off enough product. I feel like they're more for natural nail. So I tend to use, me personally, I use the sanding bands. And then when I move on to the next nail, it's going to be generally the same process. I'm trying to just steady my hand, but then keep it by the camera, and it didn't really work very well. But you're going to want to turn your finger from side to side and cover that whole area. And you can go up and down like I'm doing here, but you can also have the drill handle facing your cuticle, the end facing your cuticle, and go from side to side like this. So you're going to want to file that area, like I said, again, till it's smooth, and try to not actually touch your cuticle skin. It kind of looks like I'm hitting it over and over, but I'm actually not touching it. There's just a small little, divot right in that spot, a little crease that I can get my very, very tip of my drill bit in, and that's really what I'm doing. And again, you can kind of see the way I'm angling my finger down and the drill up. I'm kind of making it so that tip really gets in there, and that's the only thing that gets in there. Once I'm happy with the cuticle line, I like to turn my finger towards me, and I will file on each of the sides to make sure that that nail is tapered in and it's narrow. A lot of the times, if you're looking at your, kind of looking down at your hand, and you feel that your nails are too wide or bulky or fat, a lot of the times it is that side area that you need to file in and down, as opposed to filing the shape of your nail, as opposed to filing the very edge of your nail, say with a hand file. You don't need to overshape it. You really need to bring in the edges and file that edge down. So I'll move on to the next nail. Again, you can see the process is pretty much the same. You're still going to want to mostly take off bulk at the cuticle and at the free edge. You're looking for the bulk of your nail to be in the middle, the thickest part in the middle, and you want to have it be thin at the cuticle and the free edge. Generally, the rule to nails to have them look kind of natural is to, when you're looking down like the barrel of your nail, the free edge is supposed to be about the thickness of a credit card, right around there, and that'll make it look natural without being too thick and bulky right at your tip. So you'll want to try to file a little bit heavier, like right there. I try to file that area so where it is nice and thin and it looks natural. You can't really tell that I have a lot of product on it. That nail, I think I have 3 layers. I want to say it's maybe 3 layers of Erica and a layer of Bubbly. So that's 4 layers of dip. That's a decent amount where you can get some thickness. And depending on the base you use too, some of the bases are thicker than others, and they can, end up in a thicker nail. I use a thin base, like I've said before. I use Dipalicious, and it ends up being really, really thin. But it just so happens that nail, I do have a little bit of builder gel on the edge. And so builder gel does add a little bit of thickness along with your dip. So that's kind of a challenge where you want to get that as thin as you can, especially with that builder gel layer. So then I will move on to my chunky glitter, and it's really no different. I would say the chunky glitter, again, probably just, it's a little bit thicker than your flat colors. That's what I find. It usually needs a little bit more, finessing, and it's a little more finicky. So you have to kind of, again, get in that cuticle area and file that area down, because it definitely will be thicker there on your chunky glitter. But if you put on the glitter well and you kind of follow that process of patting it down and using a layer of clear, it'll be as thin as possible. And again, I have videos on that. I will link that down below on how to put on glitter properly too. So I will file the sides again, and after I am done with this, I will move into my hand filing as well. And this is a video, it's going to be helpful if you want to learn how to do an almond shape, kind of a pointy almond shape. You can keep watching and I show how to do that. All right, so file selection. I like to use a 100/180 grit file, and I will use the 180 grit side for doing the edges of my nails. So I will first kind of go in to where my skin meets my nail, right in that corner area, kind of just unstick any skin that might be stuck to the dip and kind of free it from the edge so you can file in. And then you want to file right about there, right on the edge, kind of the edges of the almond, not quite at the point, but right before the point, to get that almond shape. That's how you really bring in that point. It took me a long time to finally figure out kind of what shape I liked and how to achieve that. So to make sure your edges are the same, they kind of come in and taper the same direction, I like to flip my hand over and make sure that my almond is, the point is dead center on my nail and that the edges are coming in kind of at the same angle. Sometimes you can overfile and one comes in a lot deeper and the other one is kind of a more, fat almond as opposed to like a kind of a V. So you want to make sure you flip it upside down and do that. And I do the same thing on all the nails. Be careful how you file on your sidewalls. You don't want to bring in the sides of your nails that are kind of where it meets the skin. You don't want to bring that in too far because it weakens the nail. So that's why you really want to focus on on either side of the point to really emphasize that point without making it too narrow towards where your nail meets, the skin right near your sidewalls. Again, it'll make it look very unnatural, and it'll cause weakness. So I did notice that my e-file didn't get it quite as thin as I needed, so I will go in with my hand file and do that on the very edge. And so now I'm kind of looking down the barrel of my nail, and it does look pretty thin. The hand file does a great job at getting down any bulk and doing some fine shaping there. So that area kind of right there where I turned my hand slightly to the right, you could kind of see almost the underneath of my nail, kind of the underside of it. And if you file just a little bit of your natural nail to where you're getting just a little bit of the side bulk down, it'll give you a more pointy shape. So I know it's kind of hard, to understand, but it's right at that area where I'm hitting right now. I'm kind of going underneath and hitting my natural nail and bringing my natural nail in just a little bit because it tends to kind of flare out for me. So I generally do that kind of right in that area right there, that I'm hitting, some of my natural nail underneath there too. So the glitter, I find because it does have a lot of bulk, you do have to overshape a lot of the glitters. The cream colors don't add quite so much bulk and depth to your nail, but the thicker glitters definitely do. So I tend to really have to file like crazy to get it even to a pointy shape. You can tell there it's pretty rounded on those edges, and you really have to work to get a nice point right there. So I work really hard and file right at those edges to bring that into a nice pointy shape. So I will finish that up and then I will get into my top coat. All right, so as per usual, I'm gonna do my gel top coat that I do every single time. No new process here. I will add a picture of the thickness of my nails, how they look from a side view, just so you guys can get an idea of the shape that I am, trying to achieve, and the apex also that I'm trying to achieve. So, it's kind of hard to envision, what nails are supposed to look like from the side without a little bit of practice. But generally you're trying to avoid, a flat looking nail, because again, it can be weak. So you want a little bit of, of thickness in the apex area and thinness at the cuticle. So take a look at that picture and I'll put that there. If you guys find this video to be helpful, give it a like. Go ahead and, but it's too late to be doing this voiceover. Please subscribe to our channel. We would love to have you. And let me know if there's anything you want to see or any comments. So until next time, ta-ta. Have a happy Thanksgiving, guys. Bye.